All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us tonight for the webinar. Of course, the webinar is titled Getting the Best Dealer at the Dealership. We're going to go over some strategies for getting the absolute best deal and the lowest price on your next vehicle when you go to the dealership, and hopefully give you some tools to keep in your back pocket to get the best deal, some tips and tactics. First, I want to start by introducing myself. My name is Carl Krzyzkowski. I work for DuPage Credit Union, and we actually have two presenters today. Both of them also work at DuPage Credit Union in the loan sales department, and they are experts in getting the best deal and have helped more than their fair share of people get the best deal at the dealership and also approve some loans. So let's start by introducing Umberto Razzo and Kim Alongi. So Umberto, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, thanks, Carl. I'm the consultant sales manager here at the credit union, and I've been helping our members through the car buying process over the last 18 years. It doesn't matter whether this is your first car purchase or your 10th car purchase. The car buying process is not something that most of us do every day. So it's important to do your research before you head out to the dealership. So today we're going to go over some strategies on how you can ensure you're getting the best deal at the dealership. And you want to touch on the outline for today.
And my name is Kim Alongi. I am a loan officer for DuPage Credit Union. Chances are, if you've ever called into our loan department, you've spoken with myself or one of my teammates. I am a car enthusiast and lending expert, always available to answer any questions that you have.
All right, Umberto, so we've got the outline up here. Why don't you go give them a little bit of a summary about what we're going to talk about.
All right. Well, actually, what's on screen is what we're going to be hitting on. Just going over steps in the pre-approval, knowing what your financing options, what to expect at the dealership, some tips on buying the used vehicles, and then the back-end products, the ancillary products that the dealership will talk to you when you're working with the finance manager.
All right, so let's get things kicked off, and we're going to start talking about, I guess, pretty important part of the process here, and that's getting pre-approved.
Correct. The question would be, why do you want to get pre-approved? Well, it will save you time at the dealership. If you've been to the dealership recently, you know that you're going to be spending a lot of time there. It might be 2-3 hours in some cases. So if you can eliminate the finance manager and basically cut that process out of the equation, you're going to be saving yourself some time. The other thing is you would be in control of the negotiations because at this point, if you're already pre-approved, you know the dollar amount that you're already pre-approved for, what that monthly payment would be, what that rate is, and so the dealership basically cannot manipulate the numbers on you. I can technically make $300 be good for 48 months, 60 months, 84 months, and so basically getting that knowledge ahead of time is going to put you in control of the negotiations. And the last step here is also to keep the pre-approval to yourself. The dealership doesn't need to know that you've already been pre-approved here at the credit union. For example, if you tell the dealership, you walk in there and say, hey, I just got pre-approved for a $40,000 car loan with my credit union, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to show you that $40,000 car. They're going to try to have you spend as much money as possible. So they don't need to know that. You know what your budget is. You know what your monthly payments go. Where you want that number to be. Keep that to yourself until the end. And then when you speak to the finance manager, if he's got something better than what the credit union offers, obviously you want to see what he has. Listen. If not, you already know that at this point you can tell him that you'll be back with a check from the credit union and take it from there.
Berto, what do you think someone should tell, let's say, a salesperson if they're asking, well, will you be financing today with us or something like that? What, do you think they should say, I'm going to just pay with cash, or do you think they should mention that, like, well, I've already gotten pre-approved by credit?
At that point, let them know that you're paying by cash.
Yeah.
They don't need to know exactly at that point. because they want to make as much money as they possibly can. So they're going to be making it on the front end, or they're going to be making it on the back end. And so if they know they're not going to be making it up on the back end, they're going to try as hard as they can to make it on the front end.
Right, like the price of the car, basically, right?
Correct.
All right.
All right, and then going into what payment you can afford. This is something here at the credit union that we do when everybody applies for a loan. We take a look at what you have coming in to what you have going out on your credit report. And based on this information, we see what we can do as far as getting you approved for a loan. So in some cases, if you're looking at that, brand new Hummer, it may not fit with your budget, but we could tell you what payment basically would work for your budget, as well as when you're looking for a vehicle, there's other factors you can consider besides just the monthly payment. That would be license, registration, gas is the biggest thing. One site that we do recommend that you go to get more information on the vehicle and how it's going to be using gas is fueleconomy.gov. This is a government site, so I like government sites. It gives you a lot of information, but it could basically use this to compare two vehicles side by side and figure out which one is better for you. And then you can see as an annual cost what each vehicle is going to be using. So it's a good site to get more information out there.
All right. I think I just want to add one thing. Knowing what payment you can afford, I want to remind everyone, if you go to dupagegu.com/calculators, we've got a couple of calculators pertaining to vehicle financing that are definitely pretty helpful in calculating what price of the car you need, and then it'll kind of it'll spit out some numbers on what your monthly payment will be, and then you can plug in some other options. So I highly recommend that. And just as a forward to this, we're at the end of the webinar. When we're all done and you log off, you'll be redirected to a thank you page, and on that page we'll have all of the links that we mentioned here today in the webinar, including the calculators page and also the fueleconomy.gov that Umberto just mentioned. I also want to remind everyone, we have a chat box. It's on the bottom left corner of your screen. Feel free to enter in your questions as they come along right into there. This is definitely a two-way conversation. We're looking forward to answering any and all questions that you might have, and we'll get to those at the end. So if you're done with that, Umberto, we're going over to the next step.
All right, your financing options. As Carl just mentioned, websites to go to. One of the things you want to do before you actually apply for a loan, or you go to the dealership and they run your credit there, is taking a look at your credit report and seeing what is actually on there. The site that we recommend you visit is annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com was put together by the three major credit bureaus. It's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And those three sites basically were forced to put this site together. It wasn't because they were nice and they wanted to do it. The government dictated that consumers are able to see their credit report at least once a year from each one of the bureaus. So I would recommend visiting the website and taking a look to see what's out there on your credit report. It doesn't necessarily give you your credit score. You could actually purchase your credit score, but it does give you the information as far as what's on your credit report. And then from there, we have a couple of other options. One of the things would be the 0% option. And I know we want everybody here to be pre-approved through the credit union. I know there's other offers that are out there. There's a 0%. 0% obviously is for those people who have really, really good credit. It's basically, pristine 800 credit scores. But recently what they've been doing is lowering those criteria and opening it up for more people. They also have been offering it for a longer period of time. So right now you can do 0% for 84 months on certain vehicles. The one thing that I guess to get at on 0%, the biggest thing is, even though you're really excited about getting 0%, just make sure that you negotiate the price of the vehicle as well. So it's not just, oh, I'm getting 0%, but that I'm actually working the price of the vehicle as well. So we do have an example of, let's just say if you were either taking the rebate or if you were doing the 0%, we have a $30,000 vehicle loan here. And if you were just to do $30,000 at 0%, your monthly payment would be $500. Now, in that same scenario, if you took a $3,000 cash rebate that the dealership was offering, and now you're financing only $27,000, your monthly payment over a 60-month time frame would be $467. So in the long run, actually, by taking the rebate, you would save yourself some money. So take a look at everything when it comes down to 0% or where you plan on doing your financing.
I think that also speaks to, you know, getting pre-approved from a credit union to begin with, right? Because then that way you can take the rebate and then get your financing through the credit union. So it's the best of both worlds, right? So the 0%, I guess, isn't really all it's kind of cracked up to be, because you're gonna lose out on the price of the car a little bit as they're negotiating with you.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get to the next slide, I just want to pop up a quick survey for you guys. The next slide is actually about leasing, and we thought it'd be fun to know who of you out there are planning on buying or leasing in the near future. What's your preference? Let's give it a couple seconds here and then see what the consensus is. Oh boy. Somebody was going to give you the his opinion on that. So it looks like a lot of you are going for buying versus leasing.
Which is good for us, I guess, right?
All right. So 100% for buying. So that's great.
Okay, well that would make these slides go quicker. Well, I mean, the option here is on a leasing the vehicle, you're going to be paying a lower monthly payment. That's the biggest benefit. You have a lower monthly payment as compared to traditional financing. You don't have to worry about depreciation concerns, but on the good side here, you're going to be driving a brand new vehicle every 2 to 3 years. So if that's the way you like that new car smell and that's the way you want to go with it, leasing is probably ideal for you. The thing to keep in mind is you don't own the vehicle, so at this point you're renting it, and so if you do put on extra mileage, you will have to pay excess mileage fees, you would have to pay termination fees. There's a lot of other fees if something gets scratched and it's bigger than what they allow. You'll have to pay a little bit more on the back end when you turn it in. The other thing, though, too, is if you plan on buying the vehicle after you lease it, you'd have to pay sales tax on the vehicle twice. So it's something to consider. Here at the credit union, we do a lot of buying out leasing, and that's something that people don't realize, that they'll have to pay the sales tax again when they purchase it outright.
All right. So if you're looking for a new car, you like the new car smell and feel every couple of years, I guess it kind of pays off to lease, but if you're going to keep the car for maybe 5 years, I think that's usually when you max out the depreciation and stuff like that, things become more constant in the vehicle price, then it's probably worth it to just buy it outright or finance.
Right. If you purchase a vehicle, put it that way, and then trade it in every 2 or 3 years, you're going to be taking that depreciation hit and rolling it into the next loan, and that'll cause you problems down the line.
All right, so let's get to the next section.
All right, that's what to expect at the dealership. Here, if any of you have tried leaving the dealership recently, they're going to be pretty much chasing you down and trying to get you from the parking lot. The reason that we put here on the next slide on the spinning technique, maybe you don't like me, maybe you like Carl better than myself, but what they're doing is they're trying to spin you back to somebody else that you like. If you ever heard the expression, you buy from somebody that you like, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to introduce you to maybe one or two other people there at the dealership to get you comfortable from buying from that dealership. The main thing here, though, too, is if they're not getting anywhere, they're going to be talking to their manager and have the manager come over. And the manager, his job is basically, if you've been at a dealership recently, he's saying, what can I do to get you in a car today? That's the point. If you got out of your vehicle, visited the dealership, they want to make sure that they're doing anything they possibly can do to get you into a vehicle that day. So that's why we have that up as far as they want you to feel comfortable there at the dealership. All right, and then on the window sticker, what's missing on the window sticker? Well, as far as what's on the window sticker, it's always going to have the MSRP. It'll have destination charges, any optional equipment that came on there, market adjustments if there was one. MSRP is the same thing as the sticker price. It's actually what the dealership is expecting for the price or for the vehicle. What you won't see is the invoice pricing. The invoice pricing is what the dealership paid for that vehicle. You won't see any of the rebate information because rebates change from time to time. The one thing that you don't necessarily see as well is manufacturer to dealer incentives. If there is a special that's going on with the manufacturer to that particular dealership, and you just happen to be number 100 there at the dealership, and their goal is to sell 100 vehicles that month, well, you're getting a much better deal than person number 75 because they want to sell that car. So those are things that you may or may not know, as well as holdback. Holdback is a term that is built into the invoice pricing. So even though that dealership says, hey, I'm getting really beat up because I'm selling this vehicle at invoice, not necessarily, because there's a certain percentage, it's actually about 2 to 3%, that's built into the invoice price, so the dealer, can still make a profit even though he's selling that vehicle at invoice pricing.
How would someone go about figuring out what the invoice price is, bro?
The invoice price you can find on a number of websites. Obviously, one that we would be talking to you about would be TrueCar. Kim would be giving you more information on that. But it's on a number, Edmunds, Kelley Blue Book, any of those websites have that information. As well as the credit union has it. I'm sorry. If you could walk into any one of the branches or call into the loan department, we have that information right there available for you as well.
All right. And that's kind of, I guess, the baseline. And then you'd want to tack on, I guess, a little bit more. You're probably not going to get the invoice price, but maybe a little bit above that, and that would be kind of your target before going in. So
actually, Kim will be going through that with TrueCar as far as where to go with the pricing.
So let's get on to that.
Okay, and so let's start with what is TrueCar. TrueCar is a car buying service that the credit union has recently partnered with to help members have a hassle-free shopping experience by gaining access to guaranteed low pricing. And to get access to these savings, you would visit our website, dupagegu.com, click on the vehicle loan section, and then in the lower left-hand corner, there will be a link to TrueCar. Once you are redirected to their site, you can search for new or used cars, compare prices at local dealerships, and even find out how much your trade-in is valued at. TrueCar has something unique called the TrueCar price curve, and this shows you the average price of the car that you want to buy in your area, what the price you should be paying for the car is, and what the savings could be off of the MSRP. And so after you've narrowed down the car that you want to buy, you can print or view on your smartphone your in-depth guaranteed savings certificate. This certificate allows you to have a hassle-free buying experience because you'll be directed to a specific dealership that will honor this special pricing. And we find that members typically save thousands off of the MSRP by using TrueCar. Something else that some members have done in the past is use these savings certificates to kind of pit dealers against each other. We live in an area that's so heavily saturated with dealers that it's not too far of a stretch to say, okay, well, here's what XYZ dealer can give me. What's the best price that you can do based off of this savings certificate? So a lot of times you can save time and save money before even stepping foot onto that dealership lot. And that kind of leads to the next point, that a lot of consumers today spend an average of 7 to 8 hours researching the car that they want to buy on the internet before even stepping foot onto the dealership lot. So besides using TrueCar, let's talk about a few strategies to aid in your negotiation. Let's face it, no matter how many vehicles that you've purchased in your life, this is something that not all of us go through on a day-to-day basis. Whereas salesmen strike thousands of deals per year, and they're well-versed and equipped on reading your verbal and nonverbal cues. And if you're anything like me, you want to make sure that you're getting the best possible deal. But if you're not into haggling, that's fine. Just present your TrueCar savings certificate and avoid the whole negotiation process. So first and foremost, we want you to do your homework. Having as much information in your arsenal as possible before heading out to the dealership will help expedite the process and help cut the crap that the car salesman is giving to you. And once you do get to the dealership, don't be afraid to walk out. Like Humberto said, it's not easy for dealers to let you leave without purchasing a vehicle, but I guarantee you that by the time you get home, you're going to have a voicemail saying, hey, Carl, what can we do to get you back into this dealership and get you into the car today? And so, let's face it, this is the largest purchase that we're all going to make, with the exception of purchasing a home. So you don't want to settle for something that you don't like. If you don't see something on the lot that you're interested in, don't be afraid to order the car. Dealerships do not own the cars that are on the lot. And this is why they're so into pushing you onto getting you into one of these specific vehicles, because they are financing them themselves. So by ordering a car, you know, they're still paying for that car that's sitting on the lot, and then they're going to have to worry about another car coming in. You don't want to have to let the pressure get to you, because if there's certain options or accessories that you really want, you're going to have to order the car. And in addition to that, if you do order a car, please take note of any manufacturer or dealer rebates that are going on, because typically you do have to take possession of a car by a certain date in order to gain access to those additive incentives. Another tip for helping in your negotiations is not letting your emotions show. You don't want to fall in love with the car. If you're gushing to your husband about how much you love this car and you have to have it, the dealer is totally going to play to that wheelhouse and do anything possible not to lower that price any further. Another question that we get a lot in the auto loan department is, what is the best time of year to buy a car? Generally, the end of the month is a great time to purchase a vehicle. Like Humberto said, the dealerships are trying to sell as many cars as they can within a month. So if it's the end of the month and they just need to sell a few more cars to jack up their commission, they're going to be more willing to work with you on the price just in order to get that deal done. Another thing to take note on when to buy the best time, when is the best time of year to purchase a car, is the end of the year, or even this summer. A lot of you will start noticing that the 2015s are going to start rolling onto the dealership lots. In fact, we've already got some members helped out with 2015s. So as the model year changes, the 2014s and even any remaining 2013s are going to be discounted quite dramatically in order to get those off of the lot. So you could get a great deal on a brand new car that happens to be 1 or 2 model years old. Also, if the body style of the car changes itself, there can be great incentives on the previous body style of that model. Another tactic to aid in your negotiation is to negotiate the price of the vehicle that you're purchasing before negotiating any trade-ins. So you want to keep these two deals separate. You want to make sure that you're getting the best deal on the car that you're buying, and you're wanting to make sure that you get the most for the car that you will be trading in. So typically we tell members to keep the trade-in information till the end of the transaction. And as always, negotiate the price first, because the lower that you get the overall price of the car, the lower your monthly payment then will be. And if a manager's approval is required in order to get a better deal, don't be afraid to tell the salesman that you'll wait for 5 minutes and no longer, otherwise you're going to walk out that door.
Will he be back in 5 minutes, Kim?
Carl, I guarantee you, if you tell them that you're waiting no more than 5 minutes, they will be back in 4.5 minutes. If you don't set that tone, they're going to sit there, they're going to let you sit there and boil, and you know, that's when your emotions are going to start to show more. You're going to be tapping your feet, you're going to be elbowing your husband, saying, honey, I ain't back yet, I really need to drive this Mustang home today. So don't be afraid to be firm with how long you are willing to wait. Finally, simply just ask. You know, it never hurts to ask, what is the lowest price that you are going to give me on this car? Whether you're asking the internet sales manager before you even step foot on the lot or once you are on the lot, say, what is the bottom line that you can give me for this vehicle? And as always, we want you to read the contracts carefully. You know, we always do the math whenever we see bills of sale come over before having the deals finalized, but always make sure to read the contracts carefully, because once you drive that car off the lot, you know, it is your vehicle. So by doing your homework ahead of time and having these negotiation tips in mind, you can feel confident in knowing that you'll leave the dealer with the best possible deal.
Right. I think one thing to note with the contracts, definitely, you know, once it transitions from the salesperson to the finance manager, those are two different people. So you got to make sure and definitely follow through with your paperwork. I've definitely heard some bad stories about numbers being changed and things like that at the dealership.
Absolutely.
One other thing, I guess I'll add this in from my personal experience that I've noticed from dealers is that usually when you're negotiating on a price and then, you know, the salesperson goes to ask for the sales manager, and you're sitting in their office and let's say, like Kim said, oh, honey, I can't wait to get this Mustang, let's get out of here, let's do it. I would probably recommend, at least for my experience, to leave that office, because I've noticed on a few occasions where they leave the intercom on and then go and listen to it in the sales manager's office. So I would suggest maybe taking a little walk outside the dealership, something like that, when you want to actually discuss, you know, with whoever you're with, or if you're alone, you want to think about the price you're going to pay and what you're going to say next in the negotiation. All right, so we've talked about, I guess that can apply to both new and used cars, but I guess
Sure
this
does.
next slide is going to be talking about used cars specifically.
Yeah, and one of the things that we recommend when purchasing a used vehicle is taking a look at the Carfax report. The Carfax report shows what has been totaled, salvaged, rebuilt, flood, any of the big things, the major highlights that are on a vehicle. What we do here at the credit union, let's just say if you were purchasing a vehicle and it was a $30,000 vehicle, and you end up having to have a bill of sale come through and it's for $20,000. We look at that and we say, well, why is there a $10,000 difference in the price between what the car is supposed to be selling for and what you're purchasing it for? And in that, we notice that there's a discrepancy right there, and we'll run the Carfax. Whether you run it or not, we'll run it, because we want to make sure that we are financing a vehicle that there are no problems on it. So we do recommend taking a look at the Carfax report and, you know, going through it and seeing what's on there. As far as some other things to take a look at, hire a mechanic if possible. It can be anywhere from $80 maybe to $100, but have somebody that you know who knows something about cars. Some of the dealerships will actually let you take the car for the weekend. It depends on that particular dealership. They might let you take it for the night, but if they really want to sell the car, they'll let you take it to somebody who can inspect the car, because they want you to feel comfortable with it as well. The thing here is, it's as is. So when you buy it, it's your car. So once you roll it off a lot, you own it. And the other thing too is take the car for a test drive. I mean, really in the type of traffic that you're actually used to driving in. If you want the car and you're used to driving a lot of highway miles, take it on the highway. If you're in regular traffic, I mean, take it up hills, whatever. Because again, you want to make sure that this is a car that's comfortable with you. I'll give you an example though. I mean, we have plenty of members who purchase a car and then we see their name come up again maybe in 6 months, 3 months down the line. Well, why is this person back in the market for a car? Well, the car ended up smelling like smoke is one of the things, or I was too big for the car, I was too little for the car, or it uses too much gas, those types of things. I mean, you make sure you understand everything about the vehicle before you purchase the car. Some other things to take a look at. I mean, if you want to move on to the ancillary products, the back end. What is needed, what is not needed. We get these questions as far as is rust proofing needed. It is not. That's something that is pretty much done on all vehicles at this point. The fabric paint protection, you can do that yourself. VIN etching, remote start, all these things are value-added options. They're just value-added options to yourself, not necessarily to the person doing the financing. What to know about service contracts? Well, the first thing you want to know is what's covered. There are two basically major types of service contracts that are out there. There are component-style coverage contracts, and then there's exclusionary coverage. Component is basically what it sounds like, these components. So if it's listed, this is what's covered. If it's exclusionary coverage means it covers everything except these certain items. So when the dealership is talking to you about an extended warranty, obviously if you are looking at an extended warranty, just make sure you're asking those questions. And then who backs the coverage? Is it a fly-by-night company? You want to make sure that if indeed you do have a claim, you want that claim to be covered. When it's coming to purchasing a new vehicle, most cars come with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. And those things are generally bumper-to-bumper warranties. One thing that we do recommend you look at, though, when purchasing a new vehicle is the in-service date of that service contract. When you're purchasing that car, it'll be on the door, but you can ask the salesman just as well, when is the in-service date of this vehicle? What that basically means is if that car has been sitting on the lot for 6 months, and let's say that was in July, it's been out there since July, and you ended up purchasing the vehicle in December, well, then you actually lost 6 months of your service contract because that car has been sitting there at the dealership. So it can have an impact on the car purchase. And then I guess the last thing here is the gap protection.
Yeah, gap protection is really important to have. Really any time that you're financing at or near 100% of the vehicle's value, or if you're financing for an extended term, such as 48, 60, 72, or 84 months, gap protection covers you if the vehicle is totaled for any reason, whether it be fire, flood, theft, or collision. This covers the difference between how much you owe on the car versus what the insurance company gives you. So for example, if you're financing a car and you borrow $18,000, 6 months, 1 year down the road, that car is totaled and you still owe $17,000 or $16,000, you would be responsible for paying that difference out of pocket should the insurance company give you a lesser amount. So rather than having to pay out of pocket for a car that you no longer have, the gap protection would kick in and cover that difference so you are not liable for those fees.
All right, so before we get to the question answering segment, which is my favorite part of webinars, I just want to thank everyone for attending tonight, taking some of your time. Hopefully we educated most of you on how to get the best deal on your next car. Hopefully there were some good tips and tricks that you learned. And I just want to remind everyone to check out some of our YouTube videos at youtube.com/DuPageCU. You can follow us on Twitter to keep up with us on some updates, different deals that we have going on, different promotions. Same with Facebook. On Facebook, we have contests basically every month. So it's just a fun way to get updates from us, get some advice, hear about future webinars.
And you
Kim's
can see Kim. That's
Kim's
right.
excited because on YouTube, we actually just did a really good video, and she did a piece on how to get a better credit score, what factors impact your credit score, which is, again, another big point of getting financed, for whether it's a car or a house or whatever. So now I want to open it up to everyone out there to take some of your questions. I want to remind everyone right after you get out of this webinar, after we're done, it'll redirect you to a thank you page for attending the webinar, and on there will be all the links that we discussed tonight, so you can check those out. So let's get to the questions. I'm going to scroll up. Keep the questions coming. Definitely, I said this is our favorite part of the entire webinar because a lot of interesting things come out. It tells us how well we did and how we can improve for the next webinar, and definitely answer more of your questions. So feel free to type it into that chat box, and we'll start answering them. All right, so let me get to the first one here. So we've got Mary here. She's talking about Costco. They have an auto program. She said it's a pretty good experience. What are your thoughts on the Costco auto program?
Yeah, good question, Mary. TrueCar is similar to what Costco has to offer, although TrueCar goes one step above and beyond the Costco buying program because it has a valuation tool for a vehicle that you would be trading in or selling privately. And also TrueCar is based off of sales in your area, whereas Costco is looking at national auto sales. So although that is a good program, you do have to belong to Costco and pay for that membership in order to obtain that, whereas TrueCar is a completely free service that we offer to all of our members in order for you to obtain the best financing.
So basically with TrueCar, you can print out your certificate, and again, that's going to be like the lowest price they're willing to pay. You can take that to different dealerships and negotiate based on that. So there's some unique advantages to TrueCar as well over Costco's program. Let's see, here's another one from Robert. He's asking, when a dealership checks your credit, do they use a tri-merge or just a single credit report?
That depends on that particular deal. I don't know too many dealerships that are actually running tri-merges. Tri-merges are for mortgages specifically, and here at the credit union ourselves, I mean, technically, we only run one bureau, and if there's some discrepancies out there in that bureau, we will run another bureau. And actually, now that I'm talking, it probably makes no sense to some people. A tri-merge is is 3 different credit bureaus. So it's one credit report that blends. So a tri-merge, it blends the 3 different bureaus that are out there. Again, it's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, and it puts them all into one credit report. So they're expensive too, so I don't think the dealerships are actually using them, and we don't necessarily either.
And just to add to that, when you go to a dealership and explore their financing options, they are shopping you around to a number of different lenders, and each of those lenders may then pull additional credit reports as well. So each of those inquiries are going to show up on your credit, whereas if you get pre-approved through DuPage Credit Union, you can feel confident in knowing that you're getting the lowest rate possible, and we're really looking at 1 or 2 bureaus versus a number of credit bureaus.
Well, and to add to that though too, the credit union doesn't use any credit scoring when it comes to making decisions on loans. So even though you go to a dealership, the dealership will qualify you based on your credit score. As far as the credit union, is concerned, we approve members. We don't necessarily do it based on their score. So we look at everything when it comes to making a decision on a loan.
Yeah, you're going to get the best deal on financing. Everybody gets the same low rate through the credit union, as well as the best deal on any extended warranties and gap protection products, because the dealership is basing those costs off of a spread. So they are more apt to inflate the cost of their extended warranty, whereas we're here to make sure that our members are protected and that the vehicles that we're holding as collateral are protected. And we certainly don't want you to have high car repair bills. So we're going to keep those costs as low as possible.
All right. So in other words, Kim really wants you to watch her video on improving your credit score. And that's at YouTube on our channel, so you can check that. Definitely some good advice there. All right. Here's another one. It's asking about lemon law. So does that exist in Illinois? If you buy a car that's constantly giving you the same problems, what would be the right steps to follow for that in terms of lemon law?
That's a good question. Well, the lemon law only applies to brand new vehicles. And as far as the follow-up that goes with that, I don't know that one off the top of my head. We have had members who have had purchased vehicles, and they were, where they had to take them back from the dealership, and we actually had to redo the paperwork and everything based on the new car. So you have to have like X number of problems to go wrong with the car before they consider it a lemon. But the specifics, I don't have them off the top of my head.
Right. First, you would have to go through the manufacturer, and they would delve in more depth to see if the vehicle is a true lemon or if they're just isolated incidents that are items that can easily be fixed and have you go on your way.
And so for a used car, you're kind of out of luck, but then again, that's
right.
to the point to maybe hire a mechanic. It's going to cost $70, $100. That's worth it, right? Or just bring a friend that has worked on cars before or is familiar with different problems, and then they can help you out in that regard. I wouldn't take the salesman's advice, though, on a potential problem or their recommendation or diagnosis of some sort of problem. So here's another one. See here. All right, so Mary's got a question here. Since you're talking about buying used cars, is going to a place like CarMax a good idea? What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, yes. I mean, between CarMax and the other dealerships that are out there, the one thing that separates them apart is the fact that they will actually give you basically a 5-day guarantee on their vehicle. So they don't sell it and they walk away from it. They will actually take the vehicle back if you're not happy with it within a certain time frame. So between us and the credit union, I like the CarMax and how they handle their own business, but we don't recommend any particular dealership, but CarMax does do a good job.
And because they have a number of different makes and models of vehicles available at all of their locations, it's a great place to test drive a number of different cars in one spot. And whether you're going through CarMax or any other dealership, it's important to do that homework and know how much that used car value is really at. So by calling in to the consumer loan department, we're always happy to look up the black book value on the cars to make sure that you are getting the best possible deal.
All right. I think CarMax also buys your car as well. I think you can just outright sell it to them.
Correct.
So that might be a better option than just
Yeah.
going through the dealer or waiting to see what they're going to
No,
say.
that's a good point, Carl. That's one thing that I mean, if you want to get a good idea of what your car is actually worth before heading out to the dealership, take it to CarMax and see what they're going to offer you for it, because CarMax will buy it right there on the spot, whereas the dealership will play with that number. They'll play with that number as much as they possibly can so they can get you on the new car purchase. But CarMax will give you a check right there on the spot.
All right. Or you can give us a call. We'll give you the invoice price. You can get we'll get the black book value for your car if you want to do that first. So we can set you up even before you go to the dealership. You just give us a call.
Yeah, we have the black book pricing as far as what you would expect for the vehicle on the trade-in. So we can give you that information. But again, CarMax is a good place to start.
All right. Let's go to this next question here. It's talking about how is income ratio to debt ratio going to affect your financing options?
It depends on what we can do as far as getting the loan approved. So it's something that we look at. I don't know if it's so much something that the dealership looks at as much, because as I mentioned earlier, they look at credit scoring, but we take a look at a debt ratio, and we calculate what we have as far as a guideline for what you can get approved here at the credit union. So we have a certain threshold that we approve loans based on, and I mean the biggest thing is all you need to do is apply, and we could tell you where we're at. So.
All right. Okay. And we've got another question here. If you have some debt, do you have to, basically eliminate all of your debt or a good portion of it to be approved? I mean, how are we going to handle that?
I think that's pretty much the same thing with the other question. It kind of goes along line with it. Based on the debt to income ratio, those are things that we calculate, and depending on what's out there on your credit report, I mean, we'll take a look and see what we can do as far as getting you approved.
Yeah, everybody's in a different financial situation, so we're happy to go through what we can do to help you purchase your car and look at everybody's individual situation.
All right.
I see a question about TrueCar asking if that's only for new cars, and the answer is no. With TrueCar, you can build a new car if that's what you're in the market for. So you can go down to the series, add any additional options, which engine you prefer, which transmission you prefer, any additional add-ons, sunroof, entertainment system, color, interior trim levels, just a slew of different options allows you to build your new car. Or if you're in the market for a used car, they do have a used car database that you can still search through by year, make, and model. You can search by max mileage, the max price that you want to spend, a number of different options to find the best used car for you too, and still obtain that guaranteed savings certificate with used vehicles. Good questions.
All right. We actually have another question here. It's regarding how you're going to determine the value on your used car. You mentioned the black book. Can you elaborate on what that is?
Yeah, black book it's similar to blue book and any of those other websites that you see. The credit union uses black book pricing. You can actually call us, and we can tell you on any specific vehicle what we're willing to lend on that vehicle, and then we'll just, based on those numbers is where we start. So it's not necessarily we will give you exactly what that is worth, but if everything looks fine, that's what we'll be as far as the number goes. So we'd be happy to answer those questions over the phone any day of the week.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like that's all the questions we have so far. Any additional questions? If you left your email when you registered for the webinar, we can get back to you that way, or you can just contact us. Once you leave the webinar tonight, you'll be redirected again to that thank you page with all the links that we talked about today, as well as contact information for both Umberto and Ken, the experts here. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope we provided some value to you guys, gave you some tools in your toolbox when you're going to the dealership. A lot of people kind of think of it as going to war. It doesn't have to be that way when you've got you know, everything in a row. You've got all the information on your car. You've got your financing set up. You've got an idea of what you want to pay.
Yeah.
And
It should be a fun process.
Should be a fun process, right? You should take a nice test drive.
You're buying a new car.
And be happy, right? It's a great moment. So if you guys do have any questions, you can check us out online, DuPageCU.com. I would definitely recommend you use our calculators. You can even apply online if you wanted to, if you were interested in that. TrueCar information is also going to be on that website. And again, I want to just say thanks. And we definitely appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to helping you out in any way we can.